Hi, I'm Candace.
And I'm Ripley.
And this is Comicsplaining,
the show where we hate the Mimic.
We sure do.
Well, lucky for us, we have a Mimic extravaganza today.
Oh boy. That's my favorite.
It's what everybody's always looking for. Yeah, so our first issue for the Mimic extravaganza, which was initially going to be 3, but we're sparing you.
Mm-hmm. Until next time.
Then, this title of Re-Enter the Mimic will really be appropriate. Anyway, our first issue is X-Men 27 from October of 1966, written by Roy Thomas, pencils by Werner Roth, inks by Dick Ayers, and letters by Sam Rosen.
I'd also like to mention that we're having a little technical difficulties, so we're using the same mic, so if sound quality isn't very good this episode, please forgive us.
Yeah, we're having to lean in and out, and my script is way over here.
And if you want it to be better, donate on Patreon.
Smooth segue to that sales pitch.
Thanks.
We open in the middle of some sort of confrontation. The Mimic is back, powers and all, despite the fact that their last encounter was supposed to remove that. He's here challenging 4 of the 5 X-Men. I believe Angel may still be injured from the last issue, which actually Hank pretty much confirms.
Jean has a new outfit.
Jean does have a new outfit. They all actually have new outfits. They're just not notable enough that you notice. But, remember the armholes used to be cut up around the shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, they all have new outfits. Even Iceman, you just can't see. He also has a snazzy new red belt.
Ah, good for him.
If only. I think he should be allowed to have a snazzy red belt.
Yeah.
On top of his ice. I was hoping them put on your belt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Marvel Girl also has her mask as part of this whole new outfit thing, which I'm glad because I like the mask much better than the cowl or the hood or whatever the hell you want to call that.
Yeah.
I'm really not clear on what to call that.
It's like a 3/4 mask.
Yeah.
It covers everything except your chin.
And a mask does work, but there's no word that feels right for these stupid hoods they wear.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it really doesn't matter. No explanation is given as to how he got his powers back as they leap into battle, the Mimic using each of their abilities against the others. Ice to make it so one of Hank's leaps leaves him slipping, Xavier's telepathy against the other 3, though it doesn't really work this time around, and then Scott's own optic blast back against him. Jean drops a kettle on top of his head, but the Mimic just blasts it off because he's got Scott's eye blasts. He manages to drop Bobby too, and then only Jean is left. We then learn that this was intended merely to be a test of strength for Xavier, who apparently allowed him back at his school even after last time. Mimic pretty much tells Charles to chill out before blasting Jean with Xavier's telepathy and showing that he could beat them all. Only now are we given some sort of explanation as to what led to this point. As you'll recall, when we closed out the last issue of X-Men, the X-Men were leaving the city of Kukulkan. During the fight, Angel was accidentally injured by Cyclops, but he accused Scott of doing it on purpose. We open on the 4 X-Boys returning home, bearing Warren into the house on a stretcher. Scott is absolutely racked with guilt over having hurt his friend, and this is something everyone knows. I mean, like you said, it's pretty much his worst fear come to life.
Mm-hmm.
Even Warren, in pain, is trying to assuage Scott's anxiety over the matter, stating that he only accused him before in a delirium. He seems to be beginning to recuperate by Hank's measure, by his mutant recuperative powers, well, blah blah blah. There might actually be something to that, but we won't really get to any explanation on that until the 2000s, so you have a while before that comes up again.
Cool.
Yeah. They decide not to talk to Jean to this until they have something for sure to tell her. After they carry Warren into the professor's office, Xavier gives him a once-over as the rest of the boys wait anxiously outside for news. After a long, tense wait, Charles wheels himself outside and tells the boys that Warren will recover, but whether he'll recover his flight abilities is still up in the air. And beyond even...
Up in the air?
Yeah. I really was thinking I was going to slip that pun on in there.
Nope. Nope. I picked up on it, and I'm calling you out.
Hey, the number of puns I've slipped past you, countless, but this one you got.
Yes.
But beyond even that, Cerebro has alerted Charles to a new menace that needs to be faced. Back at school, Jean is watching the team track practice. Apparently, the dread Ted is a member of the team.
Ted. The fourth member of
the love quadrangle.
Yes.
I've never seen anyone other than a parent watch a sports practice, and usually not even then, but I was on the swim team, so who the fuck knows? Jean does seem to have taken a shine to Ted. She feels less lonely about being away from her friends when they hang out. And after practice, she asks him what gives him so much drive in athletics. And Ted actually does have an answer. He begins to let her know something about living in his older brother Ralph's shadow. But before he can really get into detail, there's the sound of an explosion from the campus chemistry building. The pair rush towards the building, even as several other students rush out against the billows of smoke, two of them supporting a third. It's Rankin, baby!
Jean's outfit completely changes between page 6 and page 7.
Oh my god.
Literally, it's a completely different fucking outfit.
And why is he swimming for track practice?
Great question. And why did he stop and take off his shirt and change his shorts?
These are all great questions and I have no fucking answer for you.
There's just a lot happening.
It's a lot of art inconsistencies within the space of, like, maybe 10 panels.
Not even 10 panels.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
5.
Within the space of 5 panels, we have, like, 3 separate art inconsistencies.
And also he's swimming for track.
Maybe he also is on the swim team, and this is at a later point.
I guess.
It's the only thing I have, man.
I'd also like to add that this is a jump cut from him pole vaulting to him swimming. With, like, no context whatsoever.
Right. There's, like, the next moment and later, but we have no context when... Like, you had to tell us that this was later during the track practice, but, like, that would have been obvious.
You didn't give us a segue between track and swimming.
It makes no sense. Well, anyway, the students lay Cal down on the grass to recover after all of the smoke that he inhaled from the explosion. And after a while, he does respond in his usual antisocial manner. However, he's recovered his memories, which Jean is apparently just able to know, despite at this point not being a telepath.
Uh-huh.
Foreshadowing? Probably not, but I will say that it is anyways.
Sure.
It's my city now. It's anyone's city when they read the comics, really. Everyone has their own interpretation of canon in their minds.
Yeah.
Some of us are just more right than others.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We turn instead to the Puppet Master, sculpting with his radioactive clay. Last we saw him, he had just sculpted a doll of Professor X with his radioactive clay. Right now, he is sculpting a doll of Professor X with his radioactive clay.
Well, as any artist will tell you, oftentimes you'll make something and then a few weeks later you'll look at it and be like, this is the worst thing in the fucking universe.
I can make a better Professor X doll.
I can definitely do better than this.
Points for consistency, I guess. But he plans to use the doll to use the X-Men to strike against the Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Again.
Cool.
I can see why he ended up teamed up with the Mad Thinker. Someone's got to be doing some thinking around here, rather than just, I'll do the same thing, but again. But after a moment, the doll melts, and the Puppet Master realizes that X must have erected some kind of mental shield to prevent this from happening again. At least someone here is learning from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Back at the school, Xavier's looking a little strained from his efforts, and he explains to a concerned Bobby just what is going on, that he's been attacked, someone tried to take over his brain, but it's fine. It's fine, everything's fine.
It's a disconcerting thing to hear from your teacher in the middle of class.
Yeah, in the middle of class, or in the middle of Hello, class. Today, you will help me assemble my gadgets.
Right.
This is educational in nature. That's what they're doing. They're putting together some kind of new booster that's going to increase Cerebro's accuracy. Charles is quite concerned that they haven't detected a new mutant in some time. He has his suspicions as to why, but he isn't willing to explain what's going on just yet. And so he dismisses his X-Men off for some free time before retreating to his study, reaching out mentally to try and find some additional strength to add to the X-Men, what with Warren and Jean not exactly on call, at least not at the drop of a hat. So he sends his astral form out across the Atlantic, where we find Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Wanda is falconing, and Pietro is racing the Falcon for some reason. Xavier asks if they would not be willing to join him, and while at one point they would have been willing, by now they've joined the Avengers and are full-fledged members and thus can't spare the time. Wanda's outfit is cute.
Also, her hair is black.
Well, you know, she's taking some time off, falconing. You don't want to be assaulted by the paparazzi.
I mean, Pietro's kind of noticeable, though.
Yeah, his hair...
Do you think his hair, that's just like a weird cowlick?
At the front of his head?
Yeah.
I think it must be.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that makes sense. Either that or he just needs to cut his fucking hair so the wind stops making it do that.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to join. They don't have the time. No luck there. We turn to Bobby and Hank in town on another double date. Okay, so I know they get the same times off, but isn't it kind of really weird that they never go on dates with their girls without one another?
Yeah.
We never just see Bobby on a date or Hank on a date. It's always Bobby and Hank on a date with the girls.
Yeah.
And Hank doesn't get along with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So, I'm not even sure what to say about that. We have one canonically queer man who is more interested in his girlfriend than the guy who also comes along every time on a double date with the girl that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take in there. I'm not even sure what to say about it, but just saying the situation out loud I think really gets across the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
So Hank is offering a hot dog to Vera, trying to apologize for how he dashed at the end of their last date. Points for saying he's gifting it in gratitude for her forgiveness rather than asking her to forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Bobby is broke, so Zelda treats him. Even as Hank continues trying to get Vera off his case about his ditching, we're all spared from any further awkwardness by the clang of a nearby alarm bell. Some sort of bank robbery. Despite still trying to earn their way into the girls' good graces from last time, Bobby and Hank again duck out to change into costume to try and help with the robbery situation. Before they get the chance, though, they see Spider-Man webbing up the crooks in an alley. He's been kind of standoffish, but he tended to be that way a lot during the earlier days of Marvel. And they're just about to head back off to their dates when Charles calls out mentally to have them ask him to join with the X-Men. Yeah, it's a weird call. At least Wanda and Pietro are mutants.
Yeah.
It makes some sense. And they have some sort of tie with the X-Men. I don't think they've ever met Spider-Man.
No.
I can't recall it anyway. So it's weird. Very weird cameo. Spider-Man is just off of having a bad experience with the Avengers trying to recruit him, and he gives them a big ol' N.O. before swinging off in a rush to get his pictures to J. Jonah Jameson. And the boys return to their dates. X-Men Rush Week, 0-2. As we approach the weekend, the X-Men have come along to pick Jean up from school. On the way, Charles explains to them just what's going on and why he's on a recruiting spree. And this time, it's Charles's turn to randomly be thinking about Johnny Storm as they pull upon the school. At least this time, at least with him, it's not without reason. He's looking for recruits.
Right. More children for his army.
Right, he didn't go for any of the other Fantastic Four. He wanted the one that's specifically a child.
Yes.
Or at least a very young adult.
True.
Jean notices that Scott is looking particularly down in the dumps, but it's not a matter for now. And worse still, no Johnny. Maybe you could have just asked him if he didn't mind wipe him, Chuckles. Ever think about that?
No.
He's never stopped to think that he was wrong about anything for a moment in his life.
Nope.
But from the side, a voice asks if he can catch a ride. It's Calvin Rankin, with his abilities apparently back intact. I'm not sure I get that. His memories? Sure. His abilities I thought were supposed to be gone.
Yeah. Wasn't that what that machine was supposed to do?
That's exactly what that machine was supposed to do. The memory loss I thought was just like a blow to the head or something.
Yeah.
But okay, I guess Dad's last wish didn't really work out so well. The X-Men are on edge about this proposition, and Rankin threatens that he could out them because he has their abilities, which I'm also not sure I get. They're surrounded by an entire college campus worth of people. So even if anybody knew what Mimic's abilities were outside of the X-Men, these abilities could be coming from anyone on this college campus full of people.
Mimic is wearing socks with sandals.
Oh my god, he is.
He is.
Just when I thought I couldn't hate Mimic more.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think he'd have an easier time just actually outing them by telling people what's up. Hey, you guys have seen the X-Men. Take a look at these guys. We got the guy with the glasses. There's the X-Men with the glasses. There's the girl with the red hair. Red hair.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd have an easier time convincing people that, no guys, these are the X-Men, by just telling them, hey guys, these are the X-Men.
Yeah.
At the Puppet Master's lab, we see him watching some kind of surveillance screen. He'd been hoping to find the Human Torch, but found the Mimic and decided to take him over. Next step, profit.
Are these life-size dolls of the Fantastic Four, or is it just bad perspective?
Yeah, I think they're just in the foreground.
Okay, because they're the exact same size as him, which is why I was confused.
If not bigger than him.
Yeah.
God, I hate the idea of a life-size doll. Don't like that.
A life-size
Doll of your enemies.
doll of your enemies that you can control.
Oh, don't like that. No siree, Bob.
Mm-mm.
I'm really not clear on his plan here. It's rather convoluted. Also, I'm not sure how he knows who Mimic is.
Mm-hmm.
But okay.
Well, he's got a fancy TV that he can watch them on, I guess.
Right, but how does he know Mimic has powers?
Yeah. Well, he's got big feet.
Does everyone who has big feet have mimicking powers?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not... I don't get it. He's watching them shake hands on his little TV set and apparently set off back for home, and he resolves to make a puppet of Calvin Rankin and then have him fight the X-Men to see how useful he is. I'm really not following this plan, my dude. So the X-Men return home, and they change into new costumes.
Yay!
Jean made some new costumes, and they're mostly the same. But
Fucking of course she did.
I know. She's like, the only thing is, home economics isn't exactly my strong point. So why did she have to sew them then?
So why did you do it?
Right. Maybe she just really hated her outfit, but the only way Charles was going to give it a pass was if everyone got new outfits. They're not all that different. They're very similar. But there have been some tweaks to make them a little less like a romper over a bodysuit, because that's seriously how they came off before. Now it looks like just kind of all one piece. One big suit, bodysuit. And they have snazzy new red belts. And Jean has her mask back instead of whatever the fuck that is. Well, Charles enters the room, finally letting them all know just what Scott was down in the dumps about. Scott, full of guilt over what happened with Warren, asked to be relieved of command. And as such, Professor X has decided that the new deputy leader should, for some reason, be fucking Mimic, who has been here for 5 minutes and has in the past betrayed and attacked them.
What the fuck?
I don't fucking know. It makes no goddamn sense to me.
Charles.
Brilliant reasoning. We find out from Mimic's thoughts that facing whatever new mutant menace is coming their way, Charles thinks the X-Men will need Mimic's powers, and that it's the only way to keep him there because he has enough issues with authority that he won't listen to anyone else. Again,
That's not a good...
Brilliant reasoning! Don't put this person on your team. I know you're desperate, but for fuck's sake, Chuck.
Jesus Christ.
It is then, of course, that Puppet Master takes control of his puppet of Mimic, and thus how we reach the first fight to begin with. Satisfied with Mimic's strength after his defeat of the X-Men, the Puppet Master orders him to fly off, and he does, even while Charles tries to warn him that he's being controlled. As the X-Men come to, Charles explains the situation, how he hampered them so that they would lose, for some reason, because everyone in this fucking comic acts like they have information that they should not have. Slowly driving me nuts. The Puppet Master knows that Calvin Rankin is the Mimic. Charles knows way too much about fucking everything.
Yeah.
There have been other things. I've just forgotten them. So he hampered them so they'd lose, and they're going to follow the Puppet Master's radioactive brain waves. Right. Back to his hidden lair to give him a thrashing.
Okay.
Don't understand how his brain waves are radioactive.
Well, we know that Marvel doesn't understand radioactivity.
No. It's just saying he has rancid vibes and I can smell them from here and we're gonna follow them.
Yes.
Well, the X-Men follow Charles's mental directions back to the Puppet Master's hideout, and Rankin waits for them to pass by before surreptitiously following. He wants to make sure that he can keep their powers after all. He thinks that he's going to be able to keep Angel's wings for a while for literally no reason, he just fucking thinks this. Conveniently, Warren has woken up and refuses to stay at home despite the risk to his health. Also conveniently, his Mustang has a device to allow him to track the X-Copter, for some reason. The first I buy, he's just that guy. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's not going to leave his friends in a lurch, even if it puts him at risk. He's a solid dude. I'm not sure why his Mustang has a device to specifically track the X-Copter. It's not like he has a mini Cerebro in his car. He just has something to track the X-Copter. Well, the X-Men sans Angel touch down near the Puppet Master's base, and Scott, despite himself, can't stop from taking the role of leader, directing them towards the entrance. The Puppet Master awakens some sort of robot defender that he made to help protect himself after the Mad Thinker was so easily able to sneak up on him.
He just looks like a mush man.
He really does. It's like a lump of orange mashed potatoes brought to life.
Yeah.
So the X-Men fight the android, but it seems that he absorbs whatever attack they throw at him, and he hits them back with the same. What he can't absorb is an optic blast to the floor, and he falls through into a cave system conveniently underneath this lair. Who allowed him to build like this? I suppose no, he didn't really ask. You don't really go and get inspections for your villainous lair. Though you should if you want to be safe.
Yeah.
They close in on the Puppet Master when he pulls out his newest puppet, setting the Mimic on the X-Men once more. They puzzle just how he can still have Angel's wings, but we the readers know just why that is, as Angel approaches the hideout, even in the rotten shape that he's in. Mimic is trying his best to hold back and fight back. He doesn't actually want to kill them, and that's what the Puppet Master is asking. His struggle buys just enough time for Angel to approach, and with a desperate leap, he seizes and breaks the doll before collapsing back to the floor. The X-Men gather around Angel, worrying over their friend, even as Mimic whines internally that he's cursed forever to live in other people's shadow. I feel so bad for you.
Woohoo.
The end. So what do you think about the return of the Mimic?
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we want to rate that one? Because that's a standalone.
1 out of 5.
I think I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 because it's not completely nonsensical, but it's very badly written.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to a character that I like more, even though in this form he's not the best. And that's going to be the Banshee. So we turn to X-Men number 28 from November of 1966, written by Roy Thomas, pencils by Werner Roth, inks by Dick Ayers, and letters by Artie Simek. Down in New York, people cover their ears in pain as a great shriek rushes down the street. They can't see the source, but they can sure as hell hear it. The sound grows ever nearer to an art gallery, and after a moment the glass breaks at the onslaught of sound. Only now that he's stopped can the source of the trouble be seen. The rest of the citizens seem to have been stunned into some kind of trance by his sonic powers, and so none of them makes so much as a move to stop him as he grabs a beautiful landscape painting from the glass wreckage inside of the window. All these city folk could never appreciate such a beautiful landscape with their ding-dang-darn smoke and noise. With that done, he fucks off, even as the owner of the gallery finally snaps out of its trance and summons the police, but no one so much as remembers what happened. Back in Westchester, the boys are working with Charles to try and test Mimic's abilities further, attempting to see how far the duration and distance of his powers will work. Calvin, growing ever cockier, wonders if with Charles's help his powers are now permanent, and he flies further afield than he's meant to, only to get a little dose of reality and fear as his powers begin to fade and he begins falling from the sky as his wings start shrinking.
So, the Mimic is actually just part of their team now?
Yeah, he's just here.
I hate that.
I absolutely hate that. Yeah, no, he's gonna be around for a little bit.
Great.
Everybody's thrilled. I'm thrilled. I hate his stupid fucking glasses. They look so dumb.
My favorite character, the Mimic.
Now a permanent member of the team.
Oh boy.
Charles urges him to turn around to save himself, and with his last bit of ability to glide, he manages to do so just well enough to catch himself and get close enough to catch Angel's powers again, and he heads back for home, completely undaunted by the limits placed by him. He'll just stick by the X-Men, because bonus points he gets to be in charge, because he's still in charge.
I hate that.
I know. The Mimic is the fucking worst.
That's ridiculous.
Why is he in charge?
Why?
You wouldn't put, like, Hank in charge?
Why?
Anyone?
Hey, why not put Jean in charge?
Well, Jean's not here all the time, so I can
That's a fair point.
understand not putting Jean in charge at this point.
That's a fair point.
And Bobby's a baby. That's why I was like, Hank.
Yeah.
But hey, he's in charge, and he has learned no lessons from nearly falling out of the sky.
Which is why he shouldn't be in charge.
Absolutely! So he returns home, and he quickly sets to work grading against all of his teammates, and he brushes off Charles, and he starts fighting with Scott. How he plans to lead this team when he doesn't like any of them, and none of them like him, I don't know.
Chuck, this was a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea. The author, however, is very convinced that we'll be confused over no baddies in this issue so far. As if what I'm in this for isn't largely the X soap opera.
Right.
Because that's the part I love. I like the villains. I like seeing them do kid shit too, though. I really enjoy that. So we turn toward a hideout in the city, where a man garbed in purple stands before computer screens. He's located the hideout of the X-Men and plans to inform something known as Factor 3 about the news. But first he has to let his partner in crime know the good news. He descends a ladder where Banshee sits smoking his pipe and looking at his new painting. Ogre, the guy in purple, is not amused. He feels Banshee risked their mission, and also he doesn't appreciate his new art. He lets him know that they're going to have to strike within the hour, and Banshee agrees, but he's much more concerned with the fact that he's out of tobacco. In fact, he doesn't plan to strike until he gets more tobacco. And so...
Dude, you got a problem.
No kidding. So Banshee makes another go at the smash and grab routine, knocking everyone out on the street before walking into the tobacco shop to just take what he needs. Another employee of the store was working in the back, and he wasn't entranced like everyone else. So carefully the employee sneaks out before locking the metal grate outside of the store.
Oh my god, that's so fucking funny. This is like a crotchety old dude, by the way, which makes it a million times better.
It's great. I wish we could see a clip of him actually sneaking past Banshee.
It says that he escaped Banshee's powers because he forgot to put in his hearing aid this morning. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's tremendous, isn't it? So he locks the grate and he makes off to find the police. And Banshee makes a frankly terrific fucking face as he exits the store with his selections in hand.
So I was gonna mention his face because he has a very distinctive face shape.
He has a very weird face.
Which is, like, not something you're used to seeing in these early comics.
I'm not sure why he looks like this. He doesn't remain looking like this forever. He just looks really ugly for a while for no reason.
He has, like, a monkey face.
He really does. I don't get it. His nose is so weird.
His nose is really short, and his upper lip is super long and fat.
It's strange.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why he looks like that.
It's a choice.
It sure the fuck is. But nonetheless, he isn't really hindered, and with another shriek, he tears through the lock and is able to soar back off through the sky, tobacco in hand. Back home, Scott rushes over to Xavier, impressed by one of Cerebro's recordings of some recent mutant activity. Charles is unsurprised. He's been expecting something like this. In fact, he sees that Cerebro is lit up right now. Something's actively happening, but just like that, the activity dies out. The individual responsible must have found some way to negate Cerebro. Scott readies to head off with the X-Men for Manhattan, but Charles stops him, suspecting that the next thing coming is going to be an attack on the school itself. Back at school, Jean sits with Ted as he talks about a letter from home praising his brother. He's about to get into his issues with his brother Ralph when he is yet again interrupted, this time by the radio, announcing the incidents in town with Banshee earlier. Will Ted ever get to tell Jean about his issues with his brother? Not this issue!
I'm not so sure about this foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's very subtle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, our dose of Ted is accounted for in this issue, and we return to Ogre and Banshee. Ogre has started a fire, for reasons. Ostensibly, it's to keep everyone's attention on the fire while he launches some kind of rocket-shaped capsule. He turns on the TV for some reason, and is annoyed to learn that Banshee ventured out not once, but twice. He manages to keep his aggravation in check, though, and just lets Banshee know it's time to capture Professor X. With everyone's eyes on the fires across the bay, the capsule launches into the water for reasons.
Uh-huh.
No one has explained what this capsule does up to this point, but Charles and the boys are working at the school, preparing for Banshee's attack. They're all wearing ear shields underneath their costume, so Charles has them hooked together mentally to converse. What Bulb Bitch Supreme is doing doesn't seem to be clear, as his ears are right fucking there. Just then, Cerebro lights up an alarm. The mutant is right here. Thanks for the warning! Moments before Banshee bursts through the window with his usual clatter. Even with their attempts at blocking their ears with wax, it isn't enough. And the X-Men all collapse to the floor. He gives a call to let Ogre know what's going on, and Ogre urges him out of the house. After all, he wouldn't want Mimic to absorb his powers and become immune. There's no such concern with Ogre, though. He's not a mutant, and so he's free to enter the school and make off with Professor X.
He's just a big dude.
He's just a big burly dude with some tech.
Interesting.
Sure, why not? As we learn more about Factor 3, it becomes even more confusing, but hey.
The Mimic doesn't just absorb mutant powers.
Right, he picks up skills.
Yeah, he picks up everything from you. So, okay, whatever.
Maybe if he was also just completely unskilled.
Yeah.
I guess the point is that he doesn't want...
No, I understand. Yeah. I understand the problem is that he doesn't want him to pick up Banshee's powers. Yeah. I get that.
It doesn't really matter if he picks up Ogre's powers of a dude.
Right. Right.
So he's free to enter the school, and he makes off with Professor X. And he's just about to make a clean getaway, free and clear, when a stick comes out of nowhere to trip him up. Quick, a silhouette. Who's that Pokemon? It's Marvel Girl.
Ah.
Apparently she was clued in by that thing on the radio, and she's like, I'm gonna head for the school because something's probably up. Good call, Jean. So Ogre blasts at her, ready to take her out with a wrist-powered Repello ray, but her intervention bought enough time for the rest of the X-Men to awaken and rush to back her up. Ogre faces off briefly with the X-Men, but he's got to get out of here. I think he's probably realized that the odds of facing off against all 5 of them aren't great. And so with a flash of more gadgetry, he temporarily blinds the X-Men before turning back towards Xavier and tripping again.
Oh my god.
But this time over Xavier. That's right, he too is conscious and tripped Ogre with his own fucking body.
Amazing.
Points for that, that's pretty cool.
It's petty.
So overwhelmed, or Ogrewhelmed, you might say.
I would not say that.
I would.
I know you would, because you just did.
I did, in fact. Ogrewhelmed, he calls Banshee back, and Banshee manages to temporarily stun the X-Men again, though this time they don't fall unconscious, they're just stunned. Still, the intervention has bought enough time for Ogre to flee. Back at the capsule, both Banshee and Ogre bicker over whose fault this failure is, but it doesn't really matter. They're going to make another crack at it once Banshee has some time to recover. The X-Men are similarly readying for another conflict. Charles somehow figured out the makeup of the ear shields that Ogre was using, and he duplicates them to fully block the Banshee's blast this time, and he passes them around. There's a lot going on in all of this. Hank says Jean is a credit to her gender for telekinetically passing him a screwdriver and calling it pliers. There's Beast on his shit as usual. There's the whole tool thing all around. Well, Cerebro also kicks into high gear again. Round 2, fight! Banshee attacks again. At least this time he doesn't have to break the window. It's pre-broken from last time.
Love those pre-broken windows.
Gotta love it. But he's baffled upon finding that the X-Men were ready for him this time. He was counting on being able to knock them out again, but no dice. So Banshee makes the head back out the window because it's not fun when you have to fight all of them, and they're not just unconscious.
Yeah.
So he makes the head out, but with a pull of a lever, a steel mesh net falls into place, snaring the Banshee. And between Mimic hitting Banshee with his own sonic blasts and a gas gun, he finally falls unconscious. I mean, the X-Men were in the same room, so sleeping gas seemed ill-advised.
That's not how gas works. Yet again.
But sure. They load him into a special vacuum chamber and oxygen tank so they can regulate his oxygen levels and keep him unable to use his powers, but still alive.
That's kind of dark,
A
way.
Little bit. It could be worse, but it's not pleasant to think about.
Yeah.
Well, the X-Men are trying to figure out what else to do. And they just need to stop having to fight Banshee.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So Charles dismisses Scott to go get another oxygen tank, and he sends Cal off to scout the area, searching for Ogre. And Ogre decides that now is the time to strike. He's decided that Mimic is the most powerful of the X-Men. Why does Mimic, the largest of the X-Men, simply not eat the others?
Well, I mean, he kind of does, in a way. Doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess he does. Really glad I'm making this reference.
This reference to a fucking meme that no one knows about anymore.
But it's like my favorite.
I know.
So Ogre bursts into the house with a larger version of his wrist gun, and he's actually a pretty crack shot at it. And he hits Marvel Girl, Iceman, Beast, and Professor X, and he takes them all out of the fight. The room cleared, he moves to fire on Banshee to kill him for his failures.
Oof.
Yeah. But suddenly, his gun is blasted in two. Psyche is back on the scene. Without his gun, Ogre's not such a big man. And he moves to make a break for it again before Mimic manages to bring him down. Back in the house, the X-Men realize Banshee's chamber has been damaged, and they worry that they're going to have to fight him again. But with a mental bolt to the headband that Banshee's been wearing this whole time, Banshee, instead of attacking them, exults that he's free. It turns out that Ogre was mentally dominating him with the headband. This raises a lot of questions. Why was Banshee just doing things if he could have been killed via remote control at any point in time?
Yeah.
You would think that pissing off Ogre would be one of the list of things that you would not want to do.
Yeah.
And why would you not do it a second time? Seriously, dude, your smoking habit's way out of control if you're willing to risk death.
Seriously.
Like, direct death, not even
Yeah.
possible death. Why was Ogre going to fire on him with the repello ray when he could have just hit a fucking button?
Right?
Will we ever hear about Ted's beef with his brother? Why does Professor X know about Factor 3? Well, Banshee lets them all know that Factor 3 is a dangerous organization that could destroy the world. Roll credits. Banshee will return.
Oh boy.
So how was the Banshee?
He was fine, I guess.
Yeah, this issue wasn't great. I think it was better than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. Going big there. We're not even back to an average comic.
Yeah.
What do you say?
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just cannot stop wondering if he was being mentally controlled. Why did he go off and do shit that Ogre didn't want him to do? It doesn't make sense.
Ogre wasn't looking, I guess, and he just had free will for a moment.
It's almost like they wrote the first half and then in the latter half just decided that they wanted Banshee to be mind controlled.
Yeah. Well, Banshee could be cool. Maybe we'll use Banshee again.
Yeah. Maybe we'll make Banshee actually
a victim.
A victim, yeah. With his stupid fucking face.
God, his face is so bad.
I hate his face. He doesn't even look like a person.
No, he doesn't. He looks like, you know who he looks like? He looks like fucking troll. What's his name? Puck? Hangs out with Adam Warlock.
No, Puck is he's from,
no.
Alpha Flight.
What the fuck is the dude? What the fuck is his name then?
I don't know.
He sucks, but what's his name? What shit is his fucking name?
It's gonna bother you until you find out.
I can't not know. What is his name? Pip. Not Puck, Pip.
Pip, you were close.
I was close. That's who he looks like to me. He looks like Pip.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be it, because we spared you from a 3rd issue of this bullshit. You see what I mean about the Roy Thomas shit? The early Roy Thomas shit is how you say not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my throat isn't feeling very good, so we decided to do just 2 issues, but then we're gonna have to do the next one the next time we do the X-Men.
Yep. But look forward to that, because I enjoyed that. So what else we've got going is yesterday we went to go see Black Widow.
Yes, so, up top, spoiler alert for the next segment of the show.
Yes. Also, we have, apart from a few small things, pretty much not talked since we got back from Black Widow because we didn't want to start talking about Black Widow and, I guess, ruin the surprise for whatever we were going to say.
Yeah. Part of my problem with the way that we did that is, do I remember the things that I wanted to say?
Yeah, I think it definitely would have helped clarify a little bit.
Yeah.
Black Widow.
Yeah.
What did you think? What were your thoughts? Because I've been talking.
I thought it was alright. I didn't really have any strong feelings about it. I loved Yelena. I thought Yelena was fucking fantastic, and I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that I did feel somewhat strongly about was, like, it's really annoying that they did this movie after Infinity War and Endgame, because, like, she's dead.
Right. It takes away any of the stakes. I mean, it doesn't necessarily negate the stakes, but it does make them harder to care about.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, like...
There was no reason they couldn't have done this at any point before that.
Right. And, like, so much of the potential future story is lost. I mean, I gotta wonder, are they gonna continue Black Widow stuff with Yelena now? It kind of seems to be hinting that.
It does seem like we're hinting towards something going forward with her.
Yeah.
Especially going forward with Countess Valentina.
Mm-hmm. / Victoria Hand.
Yeah, because she's got, like, the stripe in her hair.
Yeah.
I don't actually know anything about Countess Valentina, though, so I don't know anything apart from she's Nick Fury's sexy girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that. I do feel like it makes watching the stuff in the TV shows really pay off, though, when I see callbacks to it, unlike every other time they've done shit.
Yeah. like the Netflix shows that were just, like, not ever brought up.
Or, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which even though it did exist in the same universe, they never really did callbacks to within the movies.
No. They never even brought Coulson back, which is weird.
Sad. I like him.
Yeah. So I, like a lot of people, was worried that there were going to be a lot of fat jokes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in the trailer, they have that line, like, oh, you got fat. But the thing about that is actually not the whole line.
Yeah.
It's literally a line where she says...
But still good, pretty much. I don't remember the exact line.
It was basically, you got fat, but you're still hot.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, there were a few jokes at the expense of him being fat, and I didn't really dig that. It's just part of Marvel's weird humor problem.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't as bad as Thor in Endgame.
No.
Not nearly that bad.
Not nearly as bad. Some of the characters felt a little cartoony to me, but I really did enjoy it.
I really liked, honestly, I really liked the dynamic of all of them mushed together as a family.
Right.
I thought that was fun.
I did enjoy that a lot, and I like the fact that even though they were this family that were put together, they still kind of came back together.
And I also liked that the enemy wasn't Russia, it was...
this dude.
Dreykov. It was Dreykov who was doing shit, like, on his own, pretty much. Because, you know, especially, we're reading these older comics, we haven't really got into it, but, like, the fucking anti-Russian propaganda is enormous.
That's why I really like when we get later in the X-Men comics, when we come to Colossus, because he was Colossus from Russia, even at a point when the Cold War was not resolved yet.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big deal. I'm sitting here thinking about, it's in a similar vein to, like, Chekhov on Star Trek being a big deal.
Iron Man has something kind of like that, because the original Crimson Dynamo, he's a Russian scientist who initially attacks Iron Man, but then ends up becoming friends with Iron Man, which is really cool. Yeah.
It's cool to have these takes. It's really weird with the attitude that seems to pervade all the rest of it. It's like, what? Where the fuck? Okay, so Pyotr Rasputin is cool, and that's cool, but, like, okay, y'all are still being really weird about Russia right now.
Yeah.
About the Soviet Union.
I mean...
It's harder for them to do the Russia is just the bad guy thing in the MCU, though, I think, because they don't have... They're not sitting here in the time and space where you can just... It's the Soviet Union, they're the bad guys. They're sitting here, they're living in a post-Soviet Union time. So that does make it harder to just be like, all of Russia's the bad guys.
Yeah.
To a degree. There were a lot of hot girls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There are a lot of hot girls.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. There were a lot of, like, other widows from the Red Room, so it was just, like, beautiful women.
All around.
Everywhere.
Even the older mom, Melina.
Yeah, she was hot.
She was hot. Yelena was hot. Natasha's always hot.
Yes.
So, that was something. I like the smaller stakes. I mean, they're not necessarily small because Dreykov can still effectively control the world via his widows, but, like, it's not, this is the end of the world stakes. Bringing it down to something more grounded to just this small family group and resolution of past trauma is really good. Downside, I really think that the Taskmaster shit was really jammed in.
I did not like what they did with Taskmaster.
I think that I get they wanted to have Taskmaster, but they needed to not do that.
Yeah.
It just felt like it didn't add anything to the plot. It just felt fan servicey, like we had to explain what the throwaway mention of Dreykov's daughter at some point was.
Right, basically.
And it just didn't feel like it had any resolution. I would have rather just seen more of the widows thrown against them.
I would say if they were going to do the Taskmaster, I would have preferred to see a more faithful adaptation of the Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Because the way they did it just felt
weird.
There
was a lot of weird shit.
It felt very shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Like, we have to have the Taskmaster, and we have to have it relate to the plot somehow.
Yeah.
Like, the Taskmaster's
just a merc.
He's literally a mercenary. You could just hire him. And also,
you could have him training your widows.
Yeah.
He'd be glad to do that.
Yeah.
Just give him that money.
Exactly. And the Taskmaster costume was really bad.
Yeah.
I hate the helmet.
Yeah. You were convinced that Taskmaster was a robot for, the first 2/3 of the movie.
Okay, but was I wrong for thinking that?
I understand where you came at it. I didn't think that the way that the person was moving felt robot-like. So that's what made me not jump on the Taskmaster's a robot bandwagon. Yeah. But they did frame it in that kind of way.
They did.
I just didn't really buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure where the fault comes into on that, if that comes on me for not buying it or them for not doing it well enough to make me buy it if that's what they wanted to sell.
Yeah.
I liked the tone of it a lot. It really worked for me. I've been sitting here debating back and forth for a long time against, because I really hate the idea of comparing it up against Captain Marvel, but, I don't want to pit the movie about a woman against the movie about a woman, but I think that the compare and contrast has a lot to do with Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. How I feel about Captain Marvel versus how I feel about Black Widow.
Well, Black Widow was definitely trying to be a feminist story.
And it felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Where Captain Marvel had a lot of that shoehorned in.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel right. You have all the girl power anthems, which I love all the girl power anthems, but I'm Just a Girl would have been a hell of a lot better song to go kicking into because they don't even have the Supreme Intelligence present as a dude.
Mm-hmm.
There are all these things that are true about Carol being told, stop getting up, stop getting up, stop getting up. That's all canonically true, but they don't lean into that nearly enough to be able to pull the power from that.
No.
And whenever it happens, it feels shoehorned in. Black Widow feels like a much better feminist movie.
I think the feminism in Black Widow, for me, all comes back to something that Dreykov says towards the end, which is that he will rule the world with the one resource that they have too much of.
Girls. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of agency, shit about agency.
Mm-hmm.
And
it just shows to me the complete and utter disregard that he has for anyone who is assigned female at birth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Black Widow on that side, but just as a movie, I really like Black Widow. I haven't had a movie that I've come away with not bad vibes about since Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I didn't necessarily hate Endgame. It wasn't great, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it enough to be I have positive vibes about this movie. Captain Marvel felt kind of hollow to me. Oh, I fucking hated Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah. I don't feel as strongly about Black Widow as you do, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Not to get on Taskmaster again, but they did literally do that thing that they...
Chip.
No, they did that thing that they used to do in, the early 2000s, where it's, a mysterious person wearing a mask and a suit, and then they take off the mask. It's a girl!
God, they did do that.
So fucking corny.
It's really corny. I don't necessarily have a problem with Taskmaster being a girl, but why did you have to do that like that?
Yeah.
It's a pointless reveal, too.
It really is.
Taskmaster's gender had no bearing on anything that happened. And in fact, continued really not to have much bearing apart from going further on the feminism thing where Dreykov's disregard towards women extended even towards his own daughter.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that can even be said about anything regarding Taskmaster's gender.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really pointless.
Taskmaster was really pointless.
Taskmaster was really unnecessary to this movie, and it would have been better without Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can articulate this very well, but I kind of liked that Red Guardian kept saying that he had some kind of rivalry with Captain America, but he didn't really.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of poking fun at that whole Cold War America versus Russia thing.
Right. It's not even like in some of the comics where, like, while Cap was in ice, there were... I suppose there was Isaiah running around, but they, like, immediately shoved him into jail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there were really a whole bunch of Captain Americas running around in the interim.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really entertaining to me that he can't even be... He's sitting here telling his prison buddies that he was fighting Captain America, but he's
in the 80s.
The ice.
He's telling him that he was fighting Captain America in the 80s, and this dude is like, he was still frozen. I thought Red Guardian was really fun. I can see how people who might be invested in his comic book character would not think that he was that fun, but...
I haven't seen him enough to really have a feeling one way or the other.
Well, he's just very serious.
Yeah.
In the comics. He pretty much is just Russian Captain America. He had a good personality. He was fun. He felt like a dad.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know. I liked him.
Yeah. I enjoyed this movie. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for us this week. If you want to find places to get in touch with us, you could consider joining our Discord. We'll include a link to that in the description of the show. You could also shoot us an email or hit us up on social media about your thoughts on Black Widow. We'll read it on the podcast. We'd be happy to do that. Our email is comicsplaining@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. There's also a video version of the show. If you want to see Banshee's weird, stupid monkey face, because we're looking at it right fucking now. You want to see Banshee's weird, stupid monkey face? You could watch us on YouTube. We put out a version every week that contains comic clips from the stuff we're reading. Consider reviewing us over at Podchaser or iTunes and share us with your friends. We'd really appreciate that. If you want to support the show and help us deal with our terrible sound issues, you could always support us on Patreon. There are rewards for anyone who wants to join us over there. There's weekly outtakes, and as we get more followers, there are more things that we will do over there.
Yeah, and if you don't have any money to donate, you could help us out a lot by reviewing.
Yep. And again, watching us on YouTube, because the more views, more subscribers we get over there, the closer we're going to be able to be towards monetization.
Also, recommend us to your friends, family, acquaintances, coworkers, enemies.
Yep. Random people on the subway.
Yeah.
Don't do that, actually. Nobody wants to talk to you on the subway. But, like, nerd groups? Absolutely. They're fair game.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who plays Marvel Puzzle Quest, you can always join our alliance. We are 615. That's the number 6, the number 1. The word fix is in fixing your car. We always need more people to play group events, so that would be spectacular. My D&D game is back on, maybe? You might be able to catch it Sunday at 7 p.m. EST, or possibly 8 p.m. EST, depending, on twitch.tv/droptune. Very nice. Well, we will be back next week with Thor, and we look forward to talking to you then. Bye! Bye!